So, hi guys. Um, so this is Abdul Olamide and the founding engineer for Graphite. So our goal at Graphite, right, is to um have engineers that would move from that would not just that would have that would have strong understanding of the fundamentals of the tools that they use as engineers, right, up until like the internals of the tools, right, which means you have to understand, you have to be very, very competent with like your fundamentals, like your programming fundamentals, your framework fundamentals, and then you also have to know how you have to move to the point where you understand the internals of all of these tools. So starting with this is like one of like my numerous reading sessions and um grinding sessions that we'll be having. So I will be starting from afresh, like with like a crash course on Python, and I'll be using this book. I'm using this book, Python Crash Course. I'll be using this book, Python Crash Course, uh, by Eric Matz. So going into like the first chapter of the first part. So getting started. So we're expecting that like uh part one of this book teaches you the basic concept you will need to write Python programs. Many of these concepts are common to all programming languages, so they will be useful throughout your life as a programmer. In chapter one, you will install Python on your computer and run your first program, which prints the message hello world to the screen. Then in chapter two, you will learn to store information in variables and work with text and numerical values. Then in chapter 3 and 4, we would introduce lists. Lists can store as much information as you want in one variable, allowing you to work with that data efficiently. You'll be able to work with hundreds, thousands, and even millions of values in just a few lines of codes. Then in chapter 5, you will use if statements to write code that responds one way if certain conditions are true and responds in a different way if those conditions are not true. Then in chapter 6 shows you how to use Python dictionaries, which lets you make connections between different pieces of information. Like lists, dictionaries can contain as much information as you need to store. In chapter 7, you will learn how to accept inputs from users to make your programs interactive. You would also learn about while loops, which run which run blocks of code repeatedly as long as certain conditions remain true. Then in chapter 8, you write functions, which are named blocks of code that perform a specific task and can be run whenever you need them. Then in um, chapter 9 introduces classes, which allow you to model real-world objects such as dogs, cats, people, cars, rockets, and much more. So your code can represent anything real or abstract. Then in chapter 10, shows you how to work with files and handle errors so your programs won't crash unexpectedly. You will store data before your program closes and read the data back when the program runs again. You will learn about Python exceptions, which allow you to anticipate errors and make your programs handle those errors gracefully. In chapter 11, you will learn to write tests for your code to check that your programs work the way you intend them to. As a result, you'll be able to expand your programs without worrying about introducing new bugs. Testing your code is one of the first skills that will help you transition from beginner to intermediate programmer. So now let's get to it. Chapter one. Um, I said in this chapter, you will run your first Python program, which is the hello.py. First, you will need to check whether Python is installed on your computer. If it isn't, you will install it. You will also install a text editor to work with your Python programs. Text editors recognize Python code and highlight sections as you write, making it easy to understand the structure of your code. Now, setting up your programming environment. So Python differs slightly on different operating systems, so you need to keep a few considerations in mind. Here, we will look at the two major versions of Python current, uh, currently in use and outline the steps to set up Python on your system. So you have Python 2 and Python 3. So today, two versions of Python are available, Python 2 and the newer Python 3. Every programming language evolves as new ideas and technologies emerge. And the developers of Python have continually made the language more versatile and powerful. Most changes are incremental and hardly noticeable, but in some cases, code written for Python 2 may not run properly on systems with Python 3 installed. Throughout this book, I'll point out areas of significant difference between Python 2 and Python 3. So whichever version you use, you'll be able to follow the instructions. If both versions are installed on your system, or if you need to install Python, use Python 3. Like obviously, like you always want to use the latest version of softwares and technologies. So for Python, that is currently Python 3. If Python 2 is the only version on your system and you would rather jump into writing code instead of installing Python, you can start with Python 2, but the sooner you upgrade to Python 3, the better. So you'll be working with the most recent version. So running snippet of Python code. Python comes with an interpreter that runs in a terminal window. Um, like what the sign trying to say there is, let's say I have a terminal window. I would want to use the bash terminal window though. I have a terminal window. A long held belief in the programming world has been that printing a hello world message to the screen as your first program in a new language will bring you luck. In Python, you can write the hello world program in one line. Such a simple program serves a very real purpose. If it runs correctly on your system, any Python program you write should work as well. We will look at writing this program on your particular system in just a moment. Python on different operating systems. Python is a cross-platform programming language, which means it runs on all the major operating systems. Any Python program you write should run on any modern computer that has Python installed. However, the methods for setting up Python on different operating systems vary slightly. In this section, you will learn how to set up Python and run the Hello World program on your own system. You first check whether Python is installed on your system and install it if it's not. Then you will install a simple text editor and save an empty Python file called helloworld.py. Finally, you would run the Hello World program and troubleshoot anything that didn't work. So I'll walk you through this process for each operating system so you will have beginner friendly Python programming environments. So on Linux systems are desired for programming. So Python is already installed on most Linux computers. And the people who write and maintain Linux expect you to do your own programming at some point and encourage you to do so. For this reason, there is very little you have to install and very few settings you have to change to start programming.